everybody, to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us, sharing a beer, having some conversations. We always appreciate it. I am Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Tim. How's it going?
Good. I'm doing okay. Man. Doing all right. Mo, Mike, Nate, how the heck are you?
Had a little bit of a power outage earlier, but power's back on, so I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, almost said power shoutage, and that would be interesting. Just yelling at you. That'd be worse.
All my lights were screaming at me.
Yes.
It's a wild time.
That's the outage would be better, actually, in that case. Yeah. We always like to start off on, a cheerful note. Welcome everybody here, but we've got some pretty serious stuff to cover this week. I'm sure most everyone is aware. If you're not aware, Hurricane Helene, Tropical Storm Helene, moved through the east last week and brought some destruction with it. We're going to give some updates on Asheville, Western North Carolina, what's going on there, what we have heard from the breweries there, and some of the relief efforts. We'll share what we know on that. We've got some other info to share, but we'll spend a decent amount of time talking about that. With that, our beers of the week, we tried to honor, I guess, some of the Asheville breweries as with what we had available there. I have Highlands seasonal cerveza. It's out of season. It's a lime lager, but it's what I had on hand from an Asheville brewery, and I still like a lime lager, so I'll be totally good with that. Brian, what's your beers for this week?
I'm just going to say a lime lager is never out of season.
Right.
I would drink that anytime, and that should hold up well. Lime should hold up well, and the lager probably won't oxidize too quickly, so you should be solid.
It's been in the fridge since I got it, so it should be good to go.
Yeah, so I picked up off the shelf today, and it's just a random chance that I happen to have it. More Sierra Nevada Summerfest, and that our supply comes from the Mills River location, so they were affected by this. So I pre-gamed with that. I am currently sipping on an Highland Clawhammer Oktoberfest, which is topical and seasonally appropriate. And our friends from Six Bridges dropped off some IPAs for me to check out, and the Perihelion Biogenesis Hazy IPA is on my list of things to get into. So I'm really looking forward to that. They do good work with their IPAs. They do good work across the board with everything I've had from them.
They do.
That should be really cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
They're not as trendy as they used to be, but their kettle sours are really good. The sour beers don't seem to have quite the same popularity that they did a few years ago, but they do good work there.
Yeah, what was the guava one? I had it. I just was thinking about it, and now I can't think of it. I can't. The guava sour, the first one they ever came out with, was amazing. So,
it was absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Nate, what's on your list this week?
I wasn't able to get out in time to go get some Asheville beers, so this week I've got from Narrow Gauge. I've got their Key Lime Meersals, which is a Key Lime Goza.
So, speaking of those kettle sours, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
good stuff. We all, as mentioned, Asheville was devastated by Helene. Came through. We got somewhat lucky in the Atlanta area. I believe there were some power outages, a little bit of flooding, but before the storm came through here, it moved east, which kind of gave us a little bit of a break. Some of our friends in Tallahassee and South Georgia also got hit by it. Our friends at Georgia Beer Company totally lost their warehouse and a lot of their inventory, but that was really the extent of the damage for them. So that's something that can be fairly, I don't want to say easily, but you can recover, you can rebuild that. But in Asheville, just really hit them hard. It was flooded out, many breweries totally underwater, lots of damage. They had at least a couple days where they were pretty much cut off from everyone else. The roads were washed out. They lost communication. They lost power. It was just a really, really bad situation there throughout, Asheville and Western North Carolina. We're still getting updates on everything that was impacted there, everything that happened there. We're trying to keep an eye out for where we can help. Vetted. Stephen Pete actually gave us a suggestion here in the comments. You always should verify any kind of fundraiser donation. Unfortunately, in situations like this, there are people that prey on these types of situations, and they're looking to go out there. They're going to tell you that they're, a worthwhile cause and to donate to us. So we're going to share what we know. We'll be sharing some of these on social media as well for you to check out. And these are ones that either the brewers or people close to the brewers or the guild have recommended at this time as being, reliable. But even with that said, do your research and make sure that you give to the right place. Make sure the efforts go with that. So with all that said, kind of the background of what happened there. And Brian, I believe you do have some more detailed specifics for us on the situation.
Yeah, I've been able to piece together a bunch of information. Big thanks to Yahoo, not the drink, the website there. They had a news article that listed a lot of what was going on there. I didn't catch who wrote it, but here's what I know so far. And like you said, there's been communication problems. Cell services have been out, so some people aren't updating social media, so we really have no idea. But Highland Brewing, which has locations in East Asheville and downtown Asheville, is closed indefinitely. But no specifics were mentioned about any damage. But they're checking on their people basically, and they might be looking into it. They may have no idea what all's been affected at this point. They're probably figuring it out right now. Sierra Nevada in Asheville is temporarily closed. They report that the Mills River Brewery did not experience major flooding, but they did have some damage, and they're still assessing it. New Belgium's Asheville campus is closed for the foreseeable future. They will be back, but they will need time to assess the extent of the damage. And I think we saw pictures of that, and there was a good amount of standing water across the entire campus.
Yeah, they were pretty underwater there. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember being there, and I think there's a bridge across a creek. So imagine that filled all the way up. And, so anyway, that's all of Highwire Brewing's Asheville locations are closed until further notice. The headquarters and beer garden were completely submerged during the flooding that happened on Friday. That's about all we know about that. Zillicoa Beer Company is closed indefinitely. They say that, and this is a quote, the physical side of Zillicoa has been swept away, and that they will probably never see most of their tanks again and most of their other equipment. They're finding clamps randomly around it. That's about it. As they were all swept into the French Broad River, they posted a video on social media inside their building, and it's completely empty. And I've been there, and that's no longer there. It's kind of chilling. It's like you're moving into a place for there's nothing there. It's just crazy.
It was something seeing these come in, see the videos as they came through, the brewers. What was really odd is it took about 2 days to really hear anything, Brian, because they didn't have any communication there. So, but once they did start coming in, like you said, Zillicoa, I saw the videos there of the aftermath. One of their food trucks that goes on site there shared some video, and just devastating.
Yeah, it's wild. When I went in there, they had barrels and barrels and barrels, and their brewing system was in the back. And it may have changed since I've been there, but there was a lot of stuff in there. And they made great beer too. It's everything about that's just tragic. But moving on, we've got a New Origin Brewing Company, which may have had the worst of it. It's completely gone. The building, the equipment, everything. Worse still is their flood insurance won't cover all the building rebuilding costs, and the city codes will not allow them to rebuild their building in the current location. So they're doubly screwed. A GoFundMe has been set up to help them get through this, but there's honestly no telling what they can do, given the situation they're in. They can't rebuild where they're at, and their insurance is doing what insurance does, which is be a scam. So anyway, I don't want to go down that path.
Yeah,
too far.
That's another rabbit hole, but it's you know what? It's an unnecessary fight a lot of these folks are going to have to go through. When you're dealing with insurance, they're going to find every way to where they don't have to cover it. And, especially in a tragedy like this, not something you really want to have to fight with.
It's terrible. So, it looks like the GoFundMe is legitimate, but I would check it out. It was shared, I believe, from the source. So I think it's good. Dissolver, we love these guys. They have been distributing free canned water and food out of their tap room. I went and checked to make sure that they were doing all right. There's no indication from them as to how the brewery may or may not have been impacted by the storm. The pictures make it look like they're doing all right. And since they're doing all this stuff, I'm thinking they're okay, but you never know with these things. There could still be wind damage. Burial Beer Company reports that they are unable to operate their tap rooms and breweries in Asheville as of the last time I checked, but their locations were not damaged by wind and water. The condition of Wedge Brewing Company is completely unknown. They have not posted to social media since announcing they were closed the Friday of the storm, and they were reported by Yahoo as being one that was in concern. So Ginger's Revenge Craft Brewery is closed until further notice. No statement on the extent of damage. Pisgah Brewing Company opened its doors over the weekend to offer water container refills and reliable phone service, and they were open on Monday to do a little bit of to-go beer selling. So it appears that they're doing all right. White Labs Brewing Company temporarily closed their Asheville kitchen and tap room. They reported not having power, water, or phone service in the earlier parts of this week. I'm not sure if that's changed since I last looked, but they may be out for the entire week or longer. There's no telling how long that's going to happen. And of course, like you said, the Georgia Beer Company in Valdosta, they had the warehouse destroyed, but their brewery is still operational, so they can start making more beer. So there may well be other breweries out there that have been damaged by the storm, but I just haven't heard about them yet. Getting the information has been difficult. Many of these breweries are making the point that they don't know how their staff is doing at the moment. So they're checking up on their staff to see, are you good? And the thing is there are people missing. They're still figuring out the extent of the loss of life and the damage to people, the injuries and all that sort of thing. Highland Brewing said in a response to people, there's been a lot of inflooding of people wanting to help out. What can you do when you're outside the state? They said the best thing you can do is just go buy their beer. So this would be a really good time to go buy and drink some Asheville beer. If you haven't, go get some. Go get some Highland. Go get all these guys beer. Because they're going to
seek it out.
Yeah. If they can produce more, it's going to help them out, get that flowing, and help bring the money in. So that's what you can do to help them out.
Yeah, Brian, I saw just earlier Wicked Weed shared an update, and they said that all of their personnel are accounted for, and they said they were fortunate that the damage to their facilities was minimal. So, that's the latest update there on Wicked Weed. And Brad, our friend Brad, shared some info or asked a question here. He said something we usually see in these types of situations, Anheuser-Busch, we've got one of their breweries actually not far from where I am in Cartersville, Georgia. I haven't seen the press releases yet, and normally those press releases do go out, but they normally do canned water in these kind of situations. Yeah. They'll switch over their cannon lines and just do water for a while and send out for relief. And Brian's going to share some info here on a charity beer that's coming up, but don't forget to continue supporting these locations, because in tragedies, in situations like this, disasters, it's always mentioned that people support immediately after things happen, but the need goes on for a while. That's and I'll say the same thing. I found a reputable charity and made a donation right after that, but they're going to continue to need things for a while there. If you're close to the area, by all means, look at a place. We had some places running trucks from Georgia with supplies in that. If that's something you can do, if there's a place you can donate your time, I'm sure they'll need hands to, serve meals, hand out water, whatever that may be. Just take a look, do what you can. Everybody's ability to help is different. But every time you're out, at least for a good long while, if there's an Asheville beer there, take note of it. Support those folks any way you can there, for sure. And that's Will. We've got a question here on Green Man. Brian, do you know anything on Green Man? Have you seen any updates there?
I went searching, and they're not very active on social media, so I didn't see anything at all. So I don't know if they're in an area where a lot of places are not flooded. They just had power outages, so I think that they're probably doing all right. But I can't know that for sure. There's no way of knowing.
Nate is looking us up some info right now. You got an update, Nate?
So according to their social media, they posted this 2 hours ago. They said that they're trying to figure things out. They'll post again when they have power, but they did say they are closed until further notice.
Okay.
Nothing on the extent of the damage or anything. That's what we got right now. Huh?
Okay. Right now they're about to start an employee fund just to try and make sure their employees stay afloat with with money, but nothing about damage to the facility.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's probably the first time based on what I was checking, it'd probably be the first time in months and months, possibly years, that they've posted to social media. I went out looking and I tried a few different channels. I was like, oh, well, they haven't been using it, so I don't know if this is an indicator of things being bad or what. So,
right.
With other ones that post regularly and then go abruptly silent and don't give an update, that's the really concerning one. And I think that's what has people concerned about the which one was it? It's oh shoot, I lost a Wedge Brewing Company. Yeah, they're like they were active and then they went completely silent. Like, oh no, what happened? So
I'm almost sure that I did see a picture where one of their location or one of their locations had some flooding at minimum there. So, Brian, moving along, North Carolina Craft Brewers Guild, they are working on a charity beer for the efforts there.
Yeah. They've got a plan that's come together because of the need for financial assistance for breweries that have been ravaged by the Tropical Storm Helene. It's really immediate. The North Carolina Craft Brewers Guild is asking breweries around the country to set up a, quote, pouring for neighbors tap. So the idea behind the pouring for neighbors tap is that instead of brewing a collaboration beer, which takes time, you instead donate the proceeds of a tap that's already flowing. And that way the funds get to where they are needed faster. Breweries, bars, and tap rooms that are interested in participating can visit the North Carolina Craft Brewers Guild website to sign up. It's drinkncbeer.org/nc-beer-helene-relief. And I know we'll post this someplace.
We'll share it
in case you didn't catch that. You can also donate directly to the North Carolina Disaster Relief Fund at nc.gov/donate. And that's set up, and I checked, that's up and running right now. So those both are reputable sites that you can donate to. I can't vouch for anything else that you might come across.
Right. If you're going to nc.gov, you know you're in a reputable place there. That's for sure. So, yeah. But we wish the best to our friends. We have tons of friends in Asheville. We've been up several times to enjoy the beer there, and it's just terrible to see what they're going through right now. We wish everybody the best. And if you have any other updates for us that maybe we don't know, please do feel free to share. Or if you want some updates or something specific that you want to know about, reach out to us and we'll do our best to find out any information that we can. But all the best to all our friends in Asheville, for sure.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, Brian, moving along, some interesting news from Oktoberfest, the Oktoberfest. We're talking Munich Oktoberfest here, that it sounds like NA beer is on the rise there.
Yeah. Non-alcoholic beer has had a larger than normal presence at Oktoberfest this year. And again, the Munich one. Probably other ones too, actually, because it's had a big impact everywhere. 16 of the 18 large tents at Oktoberfest in Munich are serving non-alcoholic beer. And keep in mind, it's still going on right now. So the price of a non-alcoholic liter is the same as the price of an alcoholic one, which is between $15 and $17, translated from euro. On average, it looks like the liter is about $1 more expensive than it was last year if you average the two prices. This year was also the first time a non-alcoholic beer garden was open in Munich. It was called Die Null, which means the zero in German. It actually opened near Munich's train station earlier this summer, and it did close shortly before Oktoberfest. But it's a significant thing because they've never done this before, and I guess it was popular. Another fun fact that I picked up in this article from NPR is that 10% of the beer Weihenstephaner brews currently is non-alcoholic. They have 2 non-alcoholic beers. They have a lager and a wheat beer. So 10% in Germany of what they're selling. So it's significant over there. And I think non-alcoholic beer has always been a bigger thing for like decades in Europe than it has been here. I think they've just been better at it too.
Well, we kind of act like we invented the revolution of the craft NA, but it's just that, just like classic lagers and all that, they've been doing them for hundreds of years compared to our 50-ish years here. So it's something that wasn't a big deal with that. I don't think so, Brian. Do any of the German, I think they're called alcohol-free, FREI or something like that, but do any of those make it over to the States?
Yes, I've had the non-alcoholic Bitburger.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Non-alcoholic Bitburger is not easy to find, but I've found it a few places, and when I do, I usually get it. It's good.
Okay. I was going to say, I know you're a Bitburger fanboy. How does it compare to the A version?
It's similar. It's pretty close. It's it's never going to be exact. It's especially with it being as light as it is, but it is compelling. It's
okay.
It definitely scratches the itch. If you would like a beer, but you do not want the alcohol, a Bitburger Zero does scratch that itch. It's nice. There are
okay.
I want to say there's like Klausstaller or something like that. Also has some non-alcoholic stuff that makes it over here. There are a few. Some of them are like the larger companies, so it's hard to say like Beck's or something like that. Like, who even brews that? Is that German? I don't even know where that's made.
We don't know where that. Canada,
that could just
probably
be made. That could be made in Cartersville here, for all I know. I don't know.
One thing that's interesting though, if you do want one that is close to the original as possible, I've found out that at least so far, based on my samplings, the big macro brewers do the best job at getting as close to the originals as possible. And that's, the
Heineken.
NA Heineken, it's super close to the original there. I am curious to try the non-alcoholic Bud just to see, how close it is there to the old Bud beer.
I had it, but I don't drink a lot of Bud, so it was difficult to. I'm like, this is fine. And like, I drank it. I'm like, okay, if I were again, I wanted to have a beer someplace where I just didn't want to have the alcohol. This would be fine. This would be acceptably beery. There is the resemblance of lager here, so I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I'd rather have a Bitburger, but it's fine.
Yeah. Have you tried an NA beer that you believe blind tasting it, you would not guess it was an NA?
Oh, the peanut butter dark from
right,
Bravas is the only one I would think that I would consider. I would probably think, oh, hey, that's a pretty interesting stout. I like that. It's like, oh, it's non-alcoholic. I had no idea. For like the most, for the most part, like the Pepsi challenge, you were saying.
Well, I was going to say, but it's not the Pepsi challenge. It's that coffee one where they're like, we switched out their coffee with Folgers crystals, and they're like, what?
Oh yeah, I would definitely be able to tell the difference there. I don't know where I was going. Oh yeah, even as much as I love Black Butte Porter and the NA is really good, I think you could tell. Even with the Guinness, I think the Guinness, if it'd been a while since you had one, might trick you. But I don't know. If you're a regular drinker of Guinness, you would tell. I think with both of these, you'd tell. There's a little extra sweetness in Black Butte Porter that shouldn't be there in a finished beer. It's fine. It still tastes really good. And it's just a little different in Guinness. It's not the sweetness, but there's just a little different quality to it. So it's fine,
The folks that like the Guinness, I've seen a lot of people talk about how close it is. To me, it stood out fairly significantly. The mouthfeel, the body of it, there was definitely a difference in the taste that I didn't think it hit. Again, if you're not drinking alcohol, but you like that, dry Irish stout profile, it'll scratch the itch for you there. But it was one that I didn't think, actually nailed it. And, we've tried sliding some NA beers into a few of our blind tastings. And every time as soon as we drink it, we're all like, this is the NA, and that's, I'm assuming they're going to continue to get better. We'll continue to see that. We have to admit that alcohol, adds something to the flavor character, the way it sets on your palate. So we may never get to the point to where it's exactly, what an alcoholic beer is. But I'm assuming they already are improving. They have been improving. And I'm assuming we'll see more of that.
Maybe they'll find a different, like they've done with Splenda or something like that, where they'll find a different form of alcohol that does not get you intoxicated, but gives you the mouthfeel and maybe the little bit of burn. So you get all that. And hopefully don't have explosive diarrhea after drinking it. But maybe they'll do that.
That's
may
not
be the
always
answer.
the case when they do the substitutes there. The lack of
I know there's been a few things where they tried to replace fat with something else, and the other thing was not great for digestive systems.
Was it called Olean? Wasn't that
Olestra or Olean, something like that?
Olean may have been a brand name, but Olestra or Olean. But that was they changed. Nate, you may be too young. Do you remember Olean or Olestra?
No.
Yeah, I think he may be just slightly too young for it, but it was an oil that they used to make like potato chips and stuff, and it was supposed to lower the fat. The problem was it caused severe digestive distress, I think is the thing with that. And I know there's some gummy bears that the sweetener they use in them. There's a hilarious review on Amazon of a guy eating like a bag of these gummy bears and just getting destroyed. Just absolutely having a bad day.
I've read the review, and I didn't know that it was because of Olestra, but I just knew that sugar-free gummy bears, because of this review, hard pass.
So that's a different thing. That's a sweetener. The Olestra was an oil for frying, so it is different things with the same result there. So,
did you ever try the generic version of it? It's called Oduki. No, I guess not.
Do we have a crickets sound effect here? Because that seems appropriate there.
Sugar alcohols. I for a short period of time went through the whole like low carb thing, and like, hey, I could lose weight and eat all this crazy stuff. And I realized very quickly all of those sugar alcohols, I forget what they're all called, but they don't play well with me at all. They are rough.
Yeah.
So I'll just eat sugar. I'll deal with it.
I think that's the thing is a lot of these things they get in there to substitute, years ago, margarine was, I think it was called oleo that they made that was like a butter substitute. And I'm assuming that's related to that same thing, but then they're like, hey, margarine's better for you than the butter. Then they're like, oh wait, we found out hydrogenated oils are really bad. So just go back to your butter.
That's trans fats, right? The hydrogenated.
Yeah.
Partially hydrogenated,
Crazy.
whatever.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, let's take a quick minute and thank our show sponsor.
Yeah. So patio season continues here in Atlanta, and your local truck and tap is the perfect place to make the most of it. Grab a beer or a cocktail, grab a bite from the day's food truck, grab a spot in the patio and soak it all in. It doesn't get much better than that. But if you're drinking beer, you've got a tough decision. Each truck and tap location has 20 taps of the finest craft beer around, plus some additional cans and bottles behind the counter there. If you'd like a beer recommendation, and you probably do, here are my picks for the week. It's hard to pass up an Allagash tap, so I'm not going to. At Truck and Tap Woodstock, my pick is Allagash Confluence. It's a strong golden ale fermented with a combination of Allagash's house Belgian yeast and a proprietary strain of Brett. I could not love the sound of this beer more. I feel like I've had it before, but I checked my Untapped. I haven't checked it in, but it sounds amazing. At the Duluth location, I'm going with Untitled Arts Golden Hop IPA. It's a juicy IPA loaded with Idaho 7, Citra, and Belma hops. It sounds great, and Untitled Art just does good work, so I'm sure it'll be fantastic. Truck and Tap Alpharetta has Creature Comforts Bebo on the side pull tap, and I just can't pull that off. I don't pass that up. I can't pull it off either without getting behind the bar. But I don't think I've ever had Bebo off a side pull, and there are a lot of other great beers on their list, but I'm going to have to start there to see what that's like. And Oktoberfest is still in full swing. It doesn't end until Sunday officially, so that's why my pick at the Lawrenceville location is Einger's Oktoberfest Marzen. But, of course, the tap lists are always changing, and so are the food trucks. If you want to plan ahead, make sure you visit truckandtap.com for all the latest details, food trucks, events, what's on tap, the works. And thank you to Truck and Tap for your support.
Thank you, Truck and Tap. We appreciate it. And, Brian, talking Oktoberfest, normally we make the rounds pretty good, but didn't get a chance to do it quite as much this year. Haven't so far. But you and I did get out last weekend and went to Round Trip Brewing here, one of their locations. And they had their Oktoberfest, and then they had an oak-aged Oktoberfest, which was absolutely stellar. So I've remembered a couple beers like this, Brian. I forget exactly what it was, but it was one from Second Self. I think maybe a barley wine that they did the base, and then they had a barrel-aged version. And if you sampled the base beer first, you're like, this is phenomenal. This is delicious. But if you drank the barrel-aged version first, it really took away from the base.
Yeah.
That was the same thing with this. I tried the Oktoberfest first. I'm like, wow, this is a really good Oktoberfest. And then I tried the oak-aged version. I'm like, yeah, but this one is just much better. And they've got a little cafe there, I guess, that they were doing the German food. So we had some schnitzel and we had some spatzel and a big old Uber pretzel and that, and currywurst. So we got to do a little bit. It was more toned down this year than it has been in years past, but we haven't gotten any Schweinhaxe yet. So.
That's the important thing. I'm going to have to find a time to get down to Der Beer Garden and get some Schweinhaxe, or there's another German restaurant that I want to go check out at some point, and I just have never made it over there. Maybe they have Schweinhaxe. I don't know.
Kurt's, the joint up. So it's called Kurt's Euro Bistro that we have here in the Metro, and that's been recommended as a good place to go. So I have to see about making it over there. Brian,
yes.
Tilray, again, more Tilray news that seems to be very popular in our stories here lately. But about a month ago, I guess, we announced that Sweetwater, the location they had in Fort Collins, they moved out. They shut it down and they moved out. But another Tilray-owned brand, Breckenridge, which is a Colorado brand, was moving in there. So I think in less than a month, they made the transition from Sweetwater out, Breckenridge in there. But very quickly, as quick as they moved into the brewery, they have announced Breckenridge is slashing production there in Colorado.
Yeah, they are shutting down most of the beer production in that facility after only like less than a month, a little over a month. I guess it's a little over a month. The brewery's tap room will remain open, so they're not closing the facility. As for the brewery part, it will continue brewing a limited small batch and pilot beer selection for the tap room, so they will have a presence there. Large-scale production for Breckenridge beers will move to other Tilray-owned brewing facilities. There will also be layoffs because they are basically making that whole thing redundant. The exact number of staff that has been cut has not been disclosed. Much like we've heard before, they're not saying anything about who they're laying off as a result of all these cutbacks. So I don't even know. They didn't even mention where Breckenridge beers are going to get brewed, but I'm guessing not in Colorado anymore. That may or may not matter to people, but it might. I don't know.
So wasn't the big cut at the Fort Collins location? Don't they still have their original? Is it Denver? Aren't they in Denver?
Oh, you know what? Maybe.
So, because I think they were taking over Fort Collins as kind of a satellite location there, right?
I think you're right. You're right. I was thinking they had moved there, but I think they probably still have the original. So I guess it will. Yeah. But the article mentioned they were actually moving the production to other Tilray-owned breweries. So I'm not 100% sure on this.
I guess that would still qualify, though, right?
Yeah. I mean, they own that one, but I guess if they're trying to ramp up production and the existing original brewery can't handle it all, they're just going to move that to some other brewery. I guess that makes sense. So
who knows?
Unclear. The Tilray is very, very tight-lipped about all the details. They basically announce closures and that's it. And they just move on with life.
We're laying off and closing down. Good luck to everybody.
Yes.
Well, Brian, some more sad news out of the beer world this week. Founder of one of my favorite breweries, Jolly Pumpkin Artisan Ales, passed away. Damon Jeffries. Jolly Pumpkin, Brian, was a brand when we were discovering the wild beers. Wild American Ales was definitely a favorite there. And I did not see a lot of news. I'll turn this over to you, Brian, because I know you look more into it, but I don't know any details. It was just announced that he passed away.
Yeah, I dug around, and yes, Ron Jeffries has passed, and I couldn't find any information about. I don't think I even saw his age. I'm not sure why he passed. What I did find out, looking through a variety of different articles about what he's been up to, is that he was in the process of starting a family brewery in Hawaii when he passed. So he'd been there, I think, for the past year or so, and been there full time. I think he was still connected to Jolly Pumpkin. I'm not 100% sure how that relationship was. Jolly Pumpkin did release a statement about it. So he became a professional brewer back in 1995, and he went on to launch Jolly Pumpkin in 2003. He inspired and mentored countless people in the industry, and his brewing techniques helped establish wild and sour beer categories in America. He was a legend, and he will be missed. That's the extent of what I can say about Ron Jeffries.
Okay. Fair enough. But Jolly Pumpkin, Brian, and man, when I get to thinking about it, there was such a great moment for these wild ales. I guess we're probably 7 or 10 years ago now. Has it been that long since they were cool? At least 7 years, right?
I think so. I know there was a time. So we went through a period where everything was. Which was first? What was hot first? Those super sour or the Brett? Because I know we went through two phases where Brett was super hot.
I thought they were kind of hand in hand there. Were they not?
Were they hand in hand?
Or around the same time, all that funky wild sour and that. So I think we were actually a little late to catching onto that because, you had the Shelton brothers who brought in Cantillon and really started to take that off. And they talked about the flack that they got bringing in Cantillon and people sending it back and saying it was bad. And that, then we had, when was Shelton Fest in Atlanta? Because that definitely would have been, the heyday there.
I want to say that was 2017.
Run in your living room and look at the poster and see what years on that.
I want to say it was 2017 because I sit right next to that poster all the time. So I think that's right. I'm not 100% sure on that, but what a different time. It's crazy.
It is. But to the point there, Jolly Pumpkin was definitely one of the brands that made me take note. And I had kind of a neat situation here. Weird story in Georgia. We were getting beers from Shelton. Shelton had some kind of a disagreement over the situation when they distributed Westy 12 in the U.S. Whatever happened there, and I don't know the details of it, but they pulled out of Georgia. And with the distribution laws here, you have to wait a few years before you can come back in if you leave your distributor within a state. So there was still kind of a stash of them at a bottle shop near me. And I don't think anybody knew what they were. So I just kind of use it like my personal beer stash. I just bought them as I wanted them. And they probably had 12 bottles when I first found the stash. And I'd grab one once a month or something like that. And I got it down to maybe 8 bottles, 7 or 8 bottles. And I went back in there one time and the shelf was empty. But I found they'd moved them into one of the coolers, the refrigerated coolers there. And I was like, okay, I grabbed another one. Then I went back for my next trip, Brian, a couple weeks later, and they were all gone. So someone came in that knew what they were and cleaned them out and absolutely destroyed my honey hole there.
I miss those. I think that was the big bellwether as to when craft beer was changing. When my honey holes, the places I could go for really interesting and rare beers that had been overlooked by other people, I had 2 of them, and the one that you're talking about used to be one for a lot of different beers, and it abruptly stopped. I had 2 near me. One of them completely closed down, and that's tragic because they had so much interesting stock that had been sitting there hanging out, waiting for love, including a lot of wild and sour beers. It was fantastic. You could find for years the Sunday morning stout from Weyerbacher. After it had been discontinued, I could still get the occasional 4-pack or one of the variants there. And when they closed down, I lost all access to that. And they did blow out some of the stuff, but I couldn't buy out all of their stock. I really as much as I would have liked to. So yeah, it's but when these started going away, I should have known that, all right, something's changed about craft beer, the industry. Like we're not where we used to be. So
things are different. But yeah, Brian, let's throw a little bit of positive news out there. It's always good to hear something positive, especially with everything that's not positive here. But Karl Strauss Brewing. Brian, you familiar with Karl Strauss?
Vaguely. I don't have a lot of personal connection.
I mean, they're one of the OGs. They've been around years and years and years. And, my day job, our office in San Diego, there's a location less than a block from there. So, when I haven't been out that often to San Diego for work trips, and when I go out there, it's easy to run over there and grab lunch or, grab a lunch beer because sometimes you need a little hydration at lunch there. But they announced they're actually opening their 9th brew pub in Southern California. So they've been around 35 years, opening their 9th location now. This is going to be in Dos Lagos, which I think is Spanish for 2 Lagos, if I'm not mistaken.
Sounds right.
And this is their 9th location. So they're going to be doing a nice little grand opening celebration there. So it's great. Now not every situation works out. They did have a place called the Outpost that closed back in August. But they do definitely, they're doing okay, man. If they're opening their 9th location there, they're doing all right. 9th brew pub.
I was just thinking about things that have expanded. I know that there's the new non-alcoholic beer that ties in with our story, Firestone Walker. Did you hear about that? They have the 805, 805, and they've come out with the 805 non-alcoholic offering. Just was announced this week. So that's it's continuing to come out. So it's interesting. Like all of the big news around beer, it seems to be around non-alcoholic beer, which kind of fascinating.
I guess that's where, like I said, you're not seeing a whole lot of positive and exciting stuff coming from the regular craft beer world right now. I think everybody's just kind of hanging on. And, that's actually something I've kind of wondered about with these Asheville breweries. Look, we're lying to ourselves if we don't know that a lot of breweries are struggling. And, there may be some of these that even with everything going on may not be able to come back from something like this. Even with insurance money and that, it may just be, it just may not be something that's worthwhile. So it'll be something to see exactly how everything shakes out for everyone, because it's going to change things up for sure. You've already got a distressed industry, and then a tropical storm comes through and floods the place out.
Yeah. I still can't get over the fact that the one brewery can't even rebuild due to city codes and the spot that we had a building here. What are you saying we can't rebuild? How does that even work? We
were fine before, the old grandfathering in, man, and then they have to come back and do something new, and it messes them up. But One thing we noticed, Brian, when we were out this weekend, people are divided on children and breweries.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
There's a lot of people that love the fact that they can go out, they can take their family, they can take their kids, they can have it. Look, I'm going to be honest, no hate to you or your children, your choice, your life, your choice. I don't enjoy a bunch of kids in a brewery. And I know family friendly is a thing that a lot of people love. And Brian, Round Trip Brewing, that's absolutely great brewery. We love the folks there. We love the beer. I would love it more if it was less family friendly. They could make it family unfriendly, like maybe put like some bars in there at toddler height, so when they're sprinting through there, they just get clobbered and they're
more sharp corners on things.
When that happens once or twice, people will start keeping their kids under control then. But maybe a ball pit that's just got, I don't know, like bottle caps in the bottom of it or something like that. I'm sorry, that's mean.
Just stick with bars at toddler head height and sharp corners on things, and that's reasonable. Yeah, that's reasonable.
But Brian, on that note, there is a brewery in Cleveland, Ohio, Forest City Brewing. They have banned all kids under 16 from the brewery. They said they cited safety and customer complaints. And I actually saw an interview that the owner did, and he's like, look, we're not doing this to be hateful to anybody. This isn't anything against children, but kids climb, they run, they jump. It had impacted employees at the brewery. It had also impacted customers, where customers had actually complained about the children there and the way they were behaving. So it really sounds like it's a situation where, kids are going to be kids. We know that. And if you're going to take your child out into a public place like that, you have to know that they're not at home in the backyard playing. And if you can't keep them under control and it's a safety risk, I've been to breweries where kids were literally climbing the chain link fence, separating the brewery from a highway, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, Brian, what do you think about kids at breweries, family friendly breweries?
So I've got two opinions. I want the breweries to stay afloat, and I think for a lot of them, if they don't do that, they lose a lot of business, because a lot of those, if the more safe you are to have their kids and the more welcoming you are, the more likely you are to get the family in there. They're going to have some beers. They won't go there otherwise. They're not going to have the time. I understand that, and I want the beers to stay flowing. I want the breweries to stay alive. So I completely get that, and I think that it would be as much fun and as wonderfully silent as it would be to drink in there without screaming kids. I think Round Trip's business would be severely injured if they were to go less kid friendly, because
there are a lot of kids at that brewery.
Very popular with young families. Yeah. So the beer is great. I will tolerate the screaming kids if I have to, but I'm not a fan of it, Tim. I am not. I'm from a certain generation where it was expected that most places had a bar side and a restaurant side, and you could go into the restaurant side, but the bar side was for the adults, and they wanted, there weren't kids in there. People were in there for drinking. When they're in there for drinking, then there's no kids around. So
that's what it is. See, there's places that I've gone to where it's family friendly up to like 8:00 or something like that, and maybe I should take note of that. Be like, no, come in, do pancake breakfast for them. No children after 10 a.m. So like, let them go there from like 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Let the parents go out and have an early morning beer, get their day started off right. And then, we'll give them till 11, Brian, because I usually get out lunchtime or a little after lunch. So
I'd be fine with most of the time I'm going out. If I'm going to go and grab a beer someplace, go to an actual proper brewery, I'm not likely to get there before 2 p.m. So I'm like, you rock and roll, have brunch all the way to 2 p.m. But after 2, let's have it be adult time.
After 2 p.m. That's fine.
That would be fantastic.
We ought to start going to Chuck E. Cheese and just getting absolutely blitzed drunk, and just see how do you guys like that?
I think our parents used to do that back in the day. I think that's how that. Yeah. I think that's the original success of that place was. Kids ate pizza and watched debatably scary animatronics, and the parents just got rip roaring drunk off of pitchers of beer back when people drank pitchers of beer. So, yeah,
good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, y'all, I think, Brian, anything else to share this week? Nate, you got anything to share?
I'm good.
No, I think that about covers it for this week.
Well, y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it. Again, please do support the Asheville breweries. At minimum, buy their beer. Look for something out there where you can support them. If you're able to send some financial support, please know that it's going to be appreciated by the folks there. If you're in an area where maybe you can donate some of your actual time, or you can donate goods. They always need stuff. We'll share. We're having trouble with our website right now, so we'll share some of this on social media, places you can go that will tell, kind of what people need and such. But y'all, we thank you so much for tuning in. We hope that you all have a very great week. And don't forget to drink local. Asheville beer. Cheers.